Lord Mayor, Your Excellency, my Lords, Ministers, distinguished guests, members of our Chamber, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to all of you and thank you for attending this evening. I'm delighted to see so many of our business community from across Northern Ireland here tonight. I would particularly like to extend a very warm welcome to our guest speakers. Alistair Campbell is certainly no stranger to Northern Ireland. Communications guru, spin doctor, author, political strategist, negotiator, take your pick. Alistair has been there, done that, and got the Tony Blair t-shirt into the bargain. Breaking with tradition, Alistair has agreed to take a few questions from the floor after his speech. It's a pleasure also to welcome Carolyn McCall. Carolyn was appointed Chief Executive of EasyJet following a long career with the Guardian Media Group, including as Group Chief Executive for the 4 years before joining EasyJet. Carolyn, your views on your industry and the wider economy are eagerly awaited. I would also like to give a very warm welcome to our communications partner, BT, represented by Graham Sutherland and Colm O'Neill, and to the Chamber's patrons. This has been an excellent year for the Chamber. We've seen the number of members grow by 30% to around 1,000 businesses, employing some 80,000 people in Northern Ireland. I believe this can be attributed to our focus on member service. Our success also owes a lot to the fact that we say it as it is. If something needs fixed, we say so. If an impediment to business is identified, we do all we can to sweep it away. And if we have constructive suggestions to offer government, we do not shy away from the task. Each of us here hopes that 2011 will mark the turnaround after the turbulence of the past 2 years. But these are not ordinary times. We meet tonight when we have uncertainty over our local economy and the potential to agree a budget, uncertainty over the future economic well-being of the Republic of Ireland, uncertainty about the Conservative-Liberal coalition, and uncertainty over how these elements will affect each and every one of us. With little likelihood of a double-dip recession in our national economy, the recession in the private sector locally is not yet at an end. And I take no pleasure in forecasting continuing difficult times ahead with the inevitable cuts in public spending in an economy that is so reliant on government support. Unlike previous recessions, today we have greater intertwining and interdependence. What happens in the Republic of Ireland is of profound interest to us. What happens in the United Kingdom is indeed every bit as important to the Republic. Hence, last week's level of attention for the announcement of the IMF European Central Bank bailout for the Republic. The numbers at some €85 billion are staggering. The risk is of nightmarish proportions. However, if it corrects the economic list and injects new stability into the economy, we all will heave a heavy sigh of relief. It is in all our interests that the unprecedented action will right a very unsteady economy. In the midst of all of this, there is political upheaval, and one thing that causes profound destabilisation is political instability. We can but hope that the forthcoming general election in the Republic will provide political direction and certainty. The outcome is pivotal to the Republic's economic well-being and potentially to Europe and to the euro. International markets will look at the makeup of the political landscape and do their own calculations. The bailout is one thing, but having the political will to implement the raft of measures needed to halt the decline is another matter entirely. Dublin is trying to come to terms with the worst crisis since the founding of the state. In the roller coaster environment that is Dublin right now, bailout was followed by news of a general election, followed by the publication of an austere 4-year budget plan, followed by mass street protests on Saturday. And that's before we get to Brian Lenihan's budget on the 7th of December. Up to 40% of our exports head south. Any retrenchment, any reduction in consumer spending or major capital programs will have serious consequences for our economy here in Northern Ireland. Locally, we can influence and persuade. Following the comprehensive spending review, we had been told to expect a budget that would address a £4 billion cut in public spending over a 4-year period. The parties are still talking, and that is a good thing. But the time for talking is fast running out. Some might say that it is already past that point. We now need to see action. The Northern Ireland Chamber of Commerce has done its bit to signpost where and how we can make savings and rebalance the economy with greater emphasis on the private sector. There has to be fundamental change. We have to have a smaller public sector with all the pain that entails. And we have to invest in infrastructure that supports economic development. We must present a confident image to would-be investors, one that shows that we are serious about the work in hand with the ideas, ingenuity and resourcefulness to effect positive change. To our politicians, I say, we need certainty, we need confident leadership, we need absolutely clear direction. As you enter the final furlong of this protracted period of negotiations, your credo should be that failure is not an option. Tonight, I make this direct appeal to you on behalf of our members, on behalf of our business community. As you approach the Stormont estate, leave party politics at the gate and work as one for our entire community. Harsh, unpalatable decisions are inescapable. They come with the territory. Yes, there is an Assembly election in 6 months' time, but this community is not interested in one-upmanship or narrow electoral advantage. This community is yearning for clarity and decisive action, action that leads to a return to growth and an increase in private sector jobs. This community needs leadership that plots a course through the economic pain barrier and sets us on the road to greater self-reliance and recovery. If you fail to reach agreement on the budget at the executive table, politics and the economy here will have been dealt a blow. If the task has to be handed over to senior civil servants to push through an emergency budget, do not be surprised at the disappointment we all will feel. Yes, the job of squaring the circle, deciding where money is spent and where cutbacks are made, is a difficult one. But that is the task that confronts you, and you will have our support, the support of the private sector, as you go through that torrid test. This chamber is not short of ideas, as we demonstrated with the publication of our economic manifesto in October, entitled Jobs and Growth Enabling Economic Excellence. Our manifesto seeks to boldly reform our economy, not just solve our budget deficit. It flags up the need for a step change in the way we do things. The private sector must come centre stage and not, as in the past, be relegated to a minor role on the sidelines. In our manifesto, we call for the creation of opportunity zones with incentives to help grow businesses, 100% rates relief and national insurance relief, and a new jobs fund focused on getting people back to work in areas where there are below average levels of private sector enterprise and private sector employment. We also call for ways of driving greater efficiency in the public sector, much less red tape, which we estimate costs us about £200 million a year. A fresh look at the public sector base to explore new ways of raising capital, and an increase in support to increase exports as well as corporation tax reductions. Since our manifesto launch, we have met with a range of government ministers and public representatives to further press our case, and I'm happy to say that the response has been very positive. Our manifesto was also reflected in joint proposals for jobs and growth, which we have agreed with our colleagues from all of the main business associations. This business alliance, or coalition, offers for the first time a united voice to government and sets out the key priorities to achieve a balanced and sustainable economy with increasing job opportunities. The agenda seeks to radically change the order of things on a wide range of fronts, not least on corporation tax. Indeed, only this morning, as you may have heard on the news, 7 business organisations, including the Chamber, released details of a letter we jointly sent to the Secretary of State and to the MLAs calling for a corporation tax reduction. We believe that a reduction in corporation tax is the fastest way to rebalance and grow the Northern Ireland economy and to create jobs. I believe the time is now right to jettison the old, established, but often slow ways of doing things and to reshape and to rework with much less reliance on the public purse. I know both the Prime Minister and the Secretary of State recently indicated that it could take up to 25 years to rebalance our economy. But we must start that journey immediately. Several companies already compete with the world's best. Companies like Moy Park, under the leadership of Nigel Dunlop, Henderson's with the Agnew family at the helm, Bill Woolsey of the Biancourt Group, and Wrightbus, under the stewardship of Martin Otter, our Chamber Vice President, show that we have the know-how to do it. The Chamber is ready to play its full part. The time for strategising and procrastination is over. External forces, nationally and internationally, mean that the time for change is now. The private sector will lead this recovery, but a partnership with the public sector is crucial if we are to succeed. Failure is not an option for this community. We can emerge stronger and better, able to compete on the world stage. As I close, to our executive at Stormont, I say, please put the building blocks in place and Northern Ireland business will do the rest. Thank you very much and enjoy your evening.